My name is Judy Steffens. I'm a figurative realist artist from Central Illinois. We live in a small town, rural, called Wapella, that's about 600 people. We've also lived in Decatur, in Denver, and in Florida. And I have a bachelor's degree from Bradley University in art. What got me started creating art was my obsession at a very young age of horses. I have a very clear memory of being in the second grade, being in my second grade classroom at my little desk with the lined paper in front of me, drawing a horse with the flying mane and the flying tail. And when I got to the hind legs, I couldn't remember if they bent forward like the front legs or if they bent some other way. And so I thought to myself, the next time I see a horse, I'm going to pay attention to what the hind legs look like so that my drawings can be accurate. So that whatever age you are when you're in the second grade, 7 or 8 years old, I was already very concerned about detail and realism in my drawings, which I still am today. So my first drawing was second grade, but I kept on drawing. In high school, still sitting in the classroom, still with my notebook paper, I started drawing girls and designing outfits for them because I was obsessed with clothes and fashion at that point. And I wanted to go to college and be a fashion designer at that time in my life. So I did go to college, but when I graduated, I got married. I went to work at a full-time office job. I had children. A little later on, I got divorced. But then I was a single mom trying to raise children. I had a well-paying job with good benefits, so I couldn't pursue anything else. But what I did do was get really interested in photography. And I took night classes for photography, and I actually even did some freelance photography work at that time. So I kept creating. I was always doing something, even during that period of time. The medium for these paintings is all oil paints. I consider myself an oil painter. That's my primary medium. And my process is to take photographs. We lived in Florida, as I said. We travel there often, and I come back with hundreds of photos. And I will go through the photos and pick out the ones that strike me as being the most dramatic or the most interesting. And sometimes that's just the way the light is shining on a person, creating a strong shadow, or it's something that they're wearing. And I'll borrow a little bit from this painting or photograph, and I'll borrow a little bit from this photograph and put them together. And I do watercolor paintings too. And often I'll do small little watercolors because I can do them pretty quickly, that are studies for the larger paintings. I'll work out a composition, or I'll work out what I want them to wear. For instance, this painting, she's wearing a red swimsuit. That's not what she was wearing when I took this photograph. But I decided I'd want the red swimsuit instead because it was more striking. And my palette, I will talk about my palette. I use a very limited palette. Whenever I start a painting, I use about 13 to 14 colors, always the same exact colors. And I lay them out on my palette exactly the same way for every painting. And the reason I do that goes back to my photography. I had a photography instructor that drilled into our heads, don't create flat gray photos. Get a good white, a strong, true black. Don't turn in any flat gray photos. And so I feel the same way about the canvases. I don't want any muddy colors on my paintings. I don't want a muddy palette, I don't want muddy paintings. So by using these same precise colors, I can create anything I want, but every painting is related and cohesive because they're all identical colors. I will say every now and then I'll use a specific color Like if I want to do a girl in a bright pink bikini, I will use a radiant magenta or something. So I'll introduce an unusual color if I need it for a really specific purpose. But other than that, it's all the same colors. So my inspiration for my beach paintings, the paintings that I have here, and the paintings that I'm currently creating, actually goes back to 2010, when my husband and I were living in Florida. And prior to that time, I painted everything. I painted horses, I painted remote fishing cabins, I painted still lifes, I painted cats, dogs, kind of all over the place. When we moved to Florida, and we were living right on the beach, right on the water, so we were at the beach every day. I was so inspired, especially being from the Midwest, growing up here, by the people on the beach. They were relaxed, they were peaceful, they were calm, they were having a great time. They weren't worried about what they had on, which was usually not much, but you know, it was very inspirational to me. And the water itself was very inspirational. You know, it changes constantly. So in 2010, I started painting from my beach photographs on a regular basis. By 2013, my husband and I were back here in Peoria. And again, I was painting a little bit all over the place. But then in 2018, I started watching some webinars from art coaches and things like that. And I told my husband, you know, I want to pursue this professionally. I want to get into galleries. I, you know, want to really have a career at this. So what I determined I needed to do was create a body of work, an inventory, build a body of work, and I needed to do it based on a theme, and it just seemed to be a natural, you know, thing to do is go back to the beaches that had always been so inspirational. You know, the beach is a place where it's almost universal that people love to go there. They love to be there. There's something that we struggle to even put into words, how it makes us feel when we're standing on the sand looking out at the ocean. I can't put it into words, but I can put it into these paintings. I hope that when people look at my artwork, first and foremost, I hope that they see a visual image that engages them, that they really like and want to pause and look at. A lot of people ask artists, what is the meaning of your work? And I answer that by saying, my art has a lot of meaning to me, because as I paint each painting and each person, I feel like I get to know them. I'm painting a story about them. I try to imagine what they're thinking or feeling, or who is that they're with. You know, what are they talking about? What are they doing there? So I get very connected and very emotionally involved with all of my paintings. So they mean something to me. But every person that looks at them is coming from their own experiences or their own expectations, and everyone is going to have their own meaning. But I hope that people, when they look at the artwork, feel some kind of connection. I mean, even though these are beach scenes and we're in the Midwest, I think people can feel connected with these experiences, these human experiences, no matter where you live. And thirdly, I guess, the greatest compliment would be that if people feel connected, engaged enough with the artwork that they actually want to take it home and live with it in their homes. So that would be the greatest thing. I've got some things coming up. I'm going to have kind of a busy fall, well actually starting in August. I'm going to have one very large painting at the Illinois State Fair Professional Art Exhibit that was juried in, so I'm excited to have that there. I'm actually going to be in 3 art fairs. So I will be in Decatur in mid-September. I'll be at the Peoria, down at the riverfront, at the Peoria Art Guild Art Fair in September, and at the Bloomington Art Fair in October. So I've got that. Oh, and I'll have one painting in New York in October. I'm excited about that. So, actually, kind of a goal of mine when I started this collection, I want to include everybody. I want to include men and women, all ages, shapes, sizes, colors, everything. You know, eventually that's my goal, is to keep creating. I've got so much inspiration right now in my head, I will run out of time before I run out of inspiration of things to paint.